Yes, we are in another session on intercultural pedagogy for multicultural classrooms in higher education. Let me introduce myself first. I am Aydın Balyer. I work as a professor in the field of educational administration at Yıldız Teknik University in Istanbul, Turkey. In today's session, I'll talk about intercultural pedagogy, theoretical part of intercultural pedagogy for multicultural classrooms in higher education. And in the practical part, you will be listening to Professor Gökay Özerim. He will be doing the practical parts in the second session and in the afternoon. Okay, let's start. And we live in a world of mobility. So we live in a globalized world, and student mobility is an important phenomenon. So all over the world, as we all know that, millions of students, international students, are on mobile at different institutions in different countries, pursuing their studies and their own majors and in their own fields. So what is student mobility then? It is often referred, as you can see here, it refers to the process of student or academic staff participating in education, training activities, or research activities in a country other than their own countries. So that means a lot of academic staff and students are going to other countries to study in their fields. And it has increased dramatically. And as according to the statistics of OECD, now approximately 7 million students are on mobile. That means 7 million students, international students, are in our countries, at our institutions, and most probably in our classrooms as instructors. And in the future, it's expected to reach 8 million in 2025. So that means our classrooms become more international, more multicultural. These students come to our classrooms, and it forms an international and a multicultural environment at our universities and in our institutions. And these students come on universities or countries witness as student diversity. These students come with their from the different cultures, from different linguistic backgrounds and national backgrounds. So what is a multicultural classroom then? A multicultural classroom is one in which both students and teachers are accepting all races, cultures, religions, and all different backgrounds. This acceptance is not a theoretical term or theoretical thing. This acceptance is or should be evidenced by the books or activities we are conducting in our classes. So sometimes people say, okay, we all welcome international students and diverse groups, but it seems good to say these kind of things, but does it happen at reality? Are we ready? Are we really ready as instructors, as institutions, or as countries? Why is it important? Why is multiculturalism so important? It's essential because the world is changing. We have been here for about 3 days, I think 4 days, some of us. We are in the streets of Sofia, and we witnessed that. It's an international city. We see a lot of different people from different regions, from different colors, from different societies. But they walk in the streets in peace, and they enjoy in peace. That means in our societies we need such a peace, but it doesn't happen itself. Countries or people who manage these countries, institutions or classes should organize or should do something for these people to live in peace. Therefore, we must learn to accept and get along with all cultures, races, and religions in the world. These are richness for all of us. As lecturers in higher education, we prepare our students for a multicultural world, so we have a huge responsibility in our classrooms. We should prepare our contents and according to multicultural environment. As we know, we educators accept that each student is unique. That means each student learns with his or her own speed, maybe way of learning or other characteristics. To properly understand and promote cultural awareness, instructors must understand all different types and types of diversity they may encounter their classrooms, including ethnicity, race, language, sexual orientation, and etc. For this reason, classrooms in higher education need a new form of pedagogy. We cannot conduct our classes with the traditional ways we learned from our teachers. We need to improve our teaching methods, and we need to prepare ourselves for a new world, for a new environment. And therefore, we need a new pedagogy, which is called intercultural pedagogy. What is it then? Intercultural pedagogy is an educational approach that promotes understanding, respect, and collaboration among individuals from diverse cultural backgrounds. And it means, in fact, as educators, we should develop an understanding and respect to all different characteristics or specialties of our students. It also emphasizes the need for educators to recognize and integrate all students' cultural experiences and perspectives into the learning environment. That means all students should be a part of this learning process. If it is a process, which is a process we know, they shouldn't be isolated from learning process. Most probably you have your own experiences, as I have my own, and there are some students, and we, as Emin told, we have some outputs and books and articles. During our interviews with students, especially international students, they stressed that they are isolated from their classes and they are trying to find their own ways. Sometimes in our country, they gave some specific answers, and they said some instructors teach in Turkish, although we expect English, because most students in the classrooms are Turkish students and they force the instructor to speak Turkish. In this case, these students are isolated from the learning process. This pedagogy also aims to bridge cultural differences and reduce biases, ensuring from teaching methods that are accessible and relevant to students from various cultural contexts. Therefore, this approach encourages dialogue between people, among people in our classrooms, mutual respect among them, skills development, preparing learners to engage effectively and increasingly globalized and multicultural world. As a method, it is defined as the study of the methods and activities of teaching. So we are in our classrooms to teach something in our field of subject matter, and of course we have our own teaching methods. We have our own teaching methods. For if our students are, to my university example, if I am conducting classes for Turkish students, okay, I know their way of behaving, understanding. I know that culture, so I can improve my own teaching strategy and technique. But when there are students from other cultures, sometimes, and not most times, we should we must choose each word very carefully in order not to insult others, isolate others, and so on. It is the interaction between individuals from various cultures, as I mentioned before. It empowers individuals to accept and appreciate different cultures. Also, it is important to improve a culture in our classrooms to accept each other, to bridge a connection among these students. It can enrich cultural, social, and economic life as well. So, as I said before, it requires a different approach. And basically, it is intercultural teaching as a teaching the other. In this approach, educators focus on learning about specific aspects of their students' cultures, such as the values, lifestyles, and ways of being that my typical students from a particular country. The focus on differences that characterize this approach may also lead to failure to address issues of racism and discrimination. So we should be very careful. And after giving that theoretical background, I want to share you the strategies that we can follow in our classrooms regarding to intercultural pedagogy. There are some strategies that we should follow. First of all, cultural awareness and sensitivity. The second one, determining competences. We will talk about them separately. Determining competences and objectives in multicultural classrooms is the second one. And the third one is preparing contents for multicultural classrooms. The fourth one is implementing correct teaching methods in multicultural classrooms. The fifth one is language sensitivity in communication skills in multicultural classrooms. That will be taught by Irem in the afternoon as well. The next one is creating an atmosphere of innovation and creativity in multicultural classroom. And the last one is implementing correct learning methods in multicultural classroom. And one more, I think it's down, evaluation also. What's cultural awareness and sensitivity in multicultural classrooms? It is, in fact, recognizing, respecting, and valuing diverse cultures, cultural perspectives, and traditions. So when we have different students from different cultures, that means how many different students we have, that means we have that number of cultures in the classrooms. As mentioned in the previous sessions, it is important to prepare culturally relevant and sensitive content as well. For example, a classroom discussion on if we are discussing different cultural approaches to celebrating festivals, instead of focusing on one of them, for example, in a Muslim country, instead of focusing on Ramadan, we should also give a room to Christmas, Diwali, and all other or different kinds of festivals, because these are important, all of them. Otherwise, if we are focusing on just Ramadan, the others may feel themselves isolated and may feel themselves bad. We should be welcoming in this sense. The next one is determining competences and objectives in multicultural classrooms. The assimilation of fundamental ideas in the field of education for diversity, tolerance, and active involvement is crucial. In order to make them involved, we need to prepare or set correct objectives and determine competences well. The improvement of interactions between students from various ethnic, cultural, racial, and religious communities should be one of the specific aims. In order to build tolerance for diversity, because our classrooms are diverse, it's essential for instructors to break down prejudices by teaching respect and tolerance. For example, when preparing a science curriculum that highlights the contribution of scientists from diverse cultures and religions, such as Asian, African, and indigenous scientists, instead of focusing solely on Western figures. And it is a way, if you are living in Western society, usually you see the figures of Western scientists. When you go to China, probably you may see them, but should be international. In the corridors, I couldn't understand it because it was Bulgarian. The pictures are probably, I also wonder, are the scientists from Bulgaria or the people who studied in this faculty university?
So in fact, the big announcement, so there are some, an exhibition, and this is made by Oleg, actually, in one of our projects, and these are famous Bulgarian scientists who work in this university, and there are several exhibitions, and this exhibition is for scientists who are in social sciences, and on the other side there are some scientists from STEM sciences, so from technical, natural sciences and so on. And this is like a memory for the new generation, because this is a university with experience about 135 years old university.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of history inside.
Okay.
This is, as you said, this is a culture that is created not by 1 year, but many, many years, and people forget it.
It's really good, and I appreciate. But one more thing, maybe just a reminder, it would be better to put English version of. I really wanted to know who they are, what fields, and Oh, just one reminder, probably you will do it. Okay, it's important to for a student to see, figures of different societies that work in that field. If you are working in the Faculty of Architecture, students should see architectures from all cultures, although and also those who studied in that faculty, it's also a good thing, and respect for their efforts. All right, okay. Preparing contents for multicultural classrooms is also important, and it is essential. When preparing contents in multicultural classrooms, we must pay attention to these issues. The context of globalization. So we live in a global world. That means we cannot isolate, any country cannot isolate itself from the global world. We are part of the world, so we should put them all in our textbooks, in our curriculum, in our contents. Cultural diversity and national identity. Sometimes books, for example, in our textbooks that are prepared by Minister of Education years ago, there were dominant characters, dominant pictures. For example, women are pictured in the kitchen usually, while men are pictured in the living room watching TV. That Emin says, which is correct, right? Okay, a good joke. Sometimes they underline their national characters very intensively, as if there are no other characters or figures in the world. Well, we should also put the characters from different parts of the world, what they did, and their stories as well. Multiculturalism and interculturality. We should underline these kind of things and in our textbooks, in our contents as well. Civil identity and their rights, inter-ethnic stereotypes and identity models, racial stereotypes, gender stereotypes in education, discrimination, and intercultural education. For example, when teaching history, a teacher includes multiple perspectives on colonialism, considering the views of both colonizers and colonized societies. It's not correct to tell the story on one side. It's better to listen the other side as well, how they feel and how they, for example, when we are describing Indian society, when British, it is India and Pakistan, they were colonized long years. And for example, in Britain, when they prepare content, and they, of course, tell the story according to their own side, but they should also put what Indians feel. Implementing correct teaching methods in multicultural classrooms. And of course, we have our own teaching method in our classrooms. Probably we developed on ourselves, or we learned from our teachers, from our parents, and we conduct our classes or lessons according to this method. But we need to do something different in intercultural pedagogy in multicultural classrooms. The lecturers must assist the students in developing their own concepts rather than trying to teach them directly. By valuing a person's capacity to learn, knowledge, abilities, tactics, attitudes, the professors or the instructors in this instance envisions learning as an activity that could determine changes at personal level. It's important, therefore, to pay close attention to the phase of motivation where young people may see that studying will help them accomplish. We must prefer an inclusive teaching methods in our multicultural classrooms. When preparing activities, when conducting activities, we should bring them together, probably from different genders, from different ages, from different colors, and in order to develop an understanding among other cultures. As David yesterday did, he brought people from different countries, and we discussed and we learned different perspectives from each other. For example, in language classes, a teacher uses literature, media, and examples from various cultures represented in the classroom to make learning more relatable for students. The next one is language sensitivity in communication skills in multicultural classrooms. Political correctness invokes language sensitivity in communication skills in multicultural environments as a way of encouraging tolerance and prevent offense. While describing identity-based groups by external makers like race, physical attributes, ethnicity, gender, sexual orientation, location, socioeconomic status, and so on. And while choosing words, while choosing definitions or examples, we should be sensitive how they feel, how they react according to these term, to this thing. For example, now these days there's a conflict in Palestine, and you are conducting a class where Palestinians and Israelis are in the classroom. So, and you should, when you choose a word of genocide, that may irritate one side. So, should be, we should, as instructors, we should develop peace among these students. We should develop an understanding. We should bring them together to understand each other better. For example, bilingual or multilingual resources like offering instruction in both the native language of students and the language of instructions. The next one is creating an atmosphere of innovation and creativity in multicultural classrooms. Innovation and creativity are important, but sometimes we are not sure to what extent we take a room for these in our classrooms. It plays a critical part in intercultural communication as a method for coming up and fresh ideas and finding solutions. Students should know that they, as in the brainstorming, they should feel free to share their ideas without hesitating, without stating that their lecturers or instructors will criticize or say bad words. An important strategy promotes collaboration among members throughout the creative process. It's asserted that groups of people with varying expertise frequently forge dynamic synergy and produce groundbreaking products. So it is better to bring them together. For example, assign students from different cultural backgrounds to work in groups on a project that requires innovative problem solving. Sometimes, while we are teaching in classroom management classes, forming an academic working group is important. I ask my students how they will become teachers. And I ask them some provocative questions, and how would you form an academic group? And they say, I let my students choose their own groups. Okay, when you let your students choose their own groups, there's 5 girls, they want to study together. There are 5 men, boys want to study together. 5 men from Turkey, 5 men from India. So they cannot learn. 5 good friends work together. It is not productive. These formation of groups should be done, organized by instructor itself. Sometimes it's difficult in classroom settings at universities because classrooms may be crowded. But if it is possible, it's better for us to organize these groups. If it is possible, and if you will form a group of 4, and if it is available 2 girls, please choose 2 girls, 2 boys, and 1 from East, 1 from West, 1 from academically good students, 1 from weaker one, and so on. We should reflect the diversity in such scenario. Because each student can contribute unique ideas based on cultural knowledge, fostering creative. If there are 4 good friends, okay, they are friends, and then they can go to cafe together, but in academic groups, maybe weaker students can interact with the others, can be motivated, can learn. Maybe girls can learn something from boys, boys can learn from something girls, maybe. Easterns learn from Westerns, and so on. And the next one is implementing correct learning methods. Of course, and we are teachers, we are teaching, but there are others who are learning. In order for students who have problems in using common language to learn some technical concepts, it's very, very easy to use visual auditory materials at the beginning. In this way, the student is not limited to language and can understand relevant course. So we should let them develop his own learning by providing an enriched strategies. For example, a teacher adapts lessons to meet diverse learning styles of students. For visual learners, they use diagrams, and for auditory learners, they include discussions, and for kinesthetic learners, they implement hands-on activities such as role play. In this way, each student can contribute or can be inclusive. Establishing positive group dynamics in multicultural classrooms. Group dynamics is important. We all know that. Even, we have been here for 4 days approximately, and there's a good group dynamic. We come together, we enjoy, we laugh, and we study, we learn from each other. And regarding task completion and task satisfaction have been noted as crucial elements in the group process. Typically, when lecturers give multicultural groups assignments to complete, they expect all group members to be able and prepared to actively collaborate, to take part. That means they should, instructors should create a positive classroom climate. So with his or her positive approach, positive feedback, and good strategies, positive classroom dynamic can be developed. For example, group activities where students from different backgrounds collaborate on projects, allowing them to practice negotiation, communication, and teamwork in an intercultural context. And providing group cohesion in multicultural classroom is also an important strategy. Collaboration and organization in groups of multicultural classrooms are facilitated by effective communication, interaction, and involvement. Full understanding should be possible for all group members, which is made possible through interaction and engagement. Lecturers should be careful about grouping students from, as I mentioned in my previous slide, and from different backgrounds by harmonizing students and creating a positive atmosphere. And in a multicultural environment, in especially higher education, students learn with culturally, ethnically, and linguistically diverse groups. To avoid exclusion or isolation, the environment should be inclusive and empowering. For example, organize regular team-building exercises like icebreakers or problem-solving games where students from different backgrounds work together, such as scavenger hunt or human knot game that requires teamwork or communication. And the last one is evaluation method. We teach in our classrooms, and then at the end of the day, we should evaluate how much they have learned so far. So how do we do it? So we have, yesterday we talked that some instructors have their own exam style, test-based exams, and these days, which is very popular. Is it correct to evaluate students with just one way, just one exam? Regarding evaluation methods in multicultural environments education, there are some strategies to be followed. Lecturers should use a variety of active participative teaching and learning and evaluation techniques to apply these learning theories, which help them achieve the formative intercultural education objectives more effectively. When we conduct different activities, and students can be failed if you apply just one exam. But if we use multiple evaluation techniques, students may find a chance in other technique maybe. And instead of focusing on what they learn, lecturers should use interactive didactic strategies that emphasize cooperation and collaboration, interactive group techniques, and in particular problem-solving strategies that encourage them. Also, while doing these, we can evaluate their performance as well. By evaluating based on content understanding and creativity, rather than focusing solely on language skills, the assessment is more equitable for students from different linguistic and cultural backgrounds. We sometimes lecturers give a mathematical problem to a group of students. Some students solve the problem correctly, but they make mistakes in language. Then instructors draw a red line and give 0. That's not correct, just because of a few grammatical mistakes. Is it correct? Of course not. We should also evaluate the way of approaching the question. If mathematically, if he or she solved the problem in a good way but made some small mistakes, it can be tolerated. So 300 degrees evaluation techniques should be implemented. As a conclusion, in multicultural classrooms, there are students who study away from their homes. and live in a different culture, which requires a good integration process. It's not easy to go to a country and adapt that society, that culture, that maybe food, and easily, and academic process easily. It requires a time to understand how it works. It requires time to find places to eat according to your own culture and there. So they cope with too many problems, not only academic problems. They may have an accommodation problem. They may have social integration orientation problem. They feel under pressure. And there are some researchers share that international students go to psychiatrists and psychologists very often. And it requires time to adopt food. For example, if you are coming from Turkey, which has a rich culture, when you go to England, it's difficult to eat fish and chips every day. And you need to cope with unfamiliar living conditions. Students from India, think of students from India, go to the United States where the rules are so strict. But in India, you know, they find their own way in the traffic. Sometimes no traffic lights, but they find their own way. But in the United States, when you go in a reverse way, the traffic was stops and fines $100, maybe $1,000, which is a shock for you. They may have financial problems. They are not all rich. Sometimes there's an understanding that international students have a lot of money and they come here and spend money. No, they have some may have limited money and they need to even work. Social isolation is another problem. Socially, you may feel isolated. Loneliness is one of the common problems. And finding a balance between studies and work, they deal with too many. While they are dealing with too many problems, it may be sometimes difficult to focus on your academic studies. So our expectations should be reasonable at first, especially in their first years. And as institutions, what we do, and at the very beginning of the sessions, as Emin shared, both lecturers and students underlined some challenges. There are some institutional challenges. There are no settled institutions at universities, and sometimes in administrative offices, there are those who work there do not know a word of English, and students cannot. I had an Iraqi student. He came 3 weeks ago. He phoned me that he came from Iraq to take his transcript, diploma, and some other documents. And he called me there and told me that he couldn't tell his problem to administrative offices and asked my help. I was on holiday. I told him I will be back in 2 days if you can wait. He stayed 2 more days in a hotel. I came back, went to the administrative office with him. I translated what he said, and they provided the documents in some time, and he went back. He cannot find an Aydın all the time. Okay, for this reason, teachers in multicultural classes should help students' adaptation in addition to institutional help. Teachers also should help them their adjustment. Instructors in these classes should have awareness and competence in this area. That is one of the aims of this project as well. In each area, it was explained that instructors and lecturers should do accordingly. All these things considered in order for good multicultural education to be implemented in higher education, teaching staff should have a pluralistic and democratic perspective, be sensitive to cultural differences, make adaptations and diversifications in teaching. That means, should have different teaching strategies. Prepare culturally relevant, inclusive, and comprehensive materials, content, according to the cultural characters. So we prepare our own content, but to what extent it is intercultural, we are not sure. Managing a multicultural university classroom involves a multifaceted approach that addresses and needs dynamics of students. By getting to know your students, you build a foundation of trust and understanding which fosters a positive learning environment. And consistent communication ensures that students remain engaged and informed, reducing the potential for misunderstanding and conflicts. And last, I can say that acknowledging and respecting each student individually reinforces their value in the classroom and promotes a supportive environment. That's it, what I can say. Thank you. Do you have any questions? Thank you. Coffee break then. Thank you. I mean.